That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about The Power, the directorial debut of Corinna Faith, which premiered on Shudder April 8th, 2021.
Corinna Faith?
Corinna.
Corinna? That's a pretty name. Mm-hmm. I was present while this movie was being played, but I was preoccupied with other things. So the only thing I know is there's like a nurse in a hospital who gets the overnight shift during like a power outage.
Yeah.
And it's like the 1950s? 30s? 20s? What's the time period?
1974.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Wow. From what I saw, it looked older than the 70s.
Well,
I also thought they were in England.
They are.
Okay. Tell us the story.
Okay, so it's set in the East London Royal Infirmary in a very specific period in January of 1974. And due to the film doesn't so much go into this, but it made me curious to look it up. The conservative government at the time, the Heath Ministry, had instituted for, I believe it went on for a period of like January through March of that year, the 3-day week in order to, I think there was uprisings, and you get some of this in newspaper clipping montages in the film of the coal miners were on strike, etc. And so to conserve power, they were demanding that everybody have a 3-day week. I thought I had read, and again, my research in this was very minimal, that hospitals were exempt from that. However, the plot mechanism in this film is about a young woman named Val, played by Rose Williams, who very much looked like a mix between Brie Larson and Alicia Vikander, who was raised in a convent by nuns, and she has become a nurse, and she has just been hired at this East London Royal Infirmary by a very unfriendly, cold, imperious matron played by Diveen Henry, who's only in a couple scenes but I really liked. And she is hired. The matron's like, look, if you're not a good fit, I'm going to fire you. But she's very wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, Val, who says she's interested in the correlation between medicine and poverty. And the matron says something like, well, the people that live around here live like animals. Basically gives her the ground rules: don't talk to the doctors. The big thing we got to do today is move everybody from one hospital to the other because of this power outage that'll be happening starting at 7 p.m. or whatever, and only very select parts of the current building will have power due to the generator, such as what's the place where they keep the infants? My mind is blanking.
I don't know. The NICU? I don't know. Where do they keep kids? The daycare center in the hospital?
No, like newborns.
I don't know.
Why is my mind blanking on that? There's this particular section. Anyway. So she gets the matron mad by talking to this very handsome young doctor played by Charlie Carrick. And there's a little girl running around that doesn't really speak English. Named Saba, played by Shakira Rahman. It's a plot point that she keeps running away from where she's supposed to be. And she has an instant attachment to Val. And through this child and her opinion of what care she needs, she has a bond with the doctor, which angers the matron so much so that she says, if you want to keep this job, you have to work a double and work overnight tonight.
Okay, this is only like 20 minutes in. Mm-hmm. What is the story? Like, you can tell the basic story.
Girl, you take forever to tell a story. Don't rush me.
Come on.
Well, maybe you should have watched it and then you'd be telling the synopsis.
Come on.
Anyway, all of a sudden the lights go out, and it's clear suddenly that there's really a supernatural presence that's kind of pulling physically at Val. There's a bunch of weird other people around here, like a really creepy janitor that grabs her in the elevator. There's a groundskeeper that's very rapey, and 2 other unfriendly nurses that are working with the infants that don't really believe her that something happens to her. It's clear that all of a sudden she's possessed by the spirit of this little girl that Saba happens to know about, but nobody else wants to admit was there. And obviously we learn that the girl was killed in the basement by the very handsome doctor. And other things happen, but the finale is she confronts the doctor. He is killed with the help of the spirit of the little girl. Val takes Saba and the matron actually helps them escape from the hospital, and that overall is the end. But the overall subtextual metaphors about this are, as the title would indicate, the power, and the power literally are, you know, the conservation of power through the blackouts, but also the ripple effects of the power that the heteropatriarchy has, if you will. Because it's all about...
Saba's not the spirit of the girl.
No, that's like a little...
Why did the doctor kill the girl? Like experimenting on her?
He had I think he was a pedophile.
Oh.
He liked young women.
Oh, wow.
And he even has a very direct line that kind of brings the subtext to the text about, oh, I have the power. But if you're talking about power hierarchies and structures, the medical field, especially historically, is very interesting because of, you know, doctor, matron, nurse. I think the matron is always very interesting because to me that role is much like the brothel madam, mother superiors, or governesses in literature, like women that are afforded a certain level of power, but because of it, it's almost even worse for them because they really can't, they're really ineffectual, but then they have to act like in this masculine way to all these younger women that resent them for it. Because matrons are always nasty, like Nurse Ratched, Nurse Bucket in the series Nurse Ratched.
Oh, that's right.
This film in particular, Corinna Faith's film, reminded me, that dynamic with Diveen Henry reminded me a lot of the matron from that classic, well, cult classic, Patrick, where that man's lying in the coma with his eyes open, but he's a killer, and he has a response to this new nurse that he's attracted to.
Have I seen that?
I don't think you have, but it's really good. The Uma Thurman in Kill Bill, her coma part of that film is an homage to Patrick.
Okay.
And her spitting, if you remember, in Kill Bill.
I haven't seen Kill Bill.
You haven't seen Kill Bill?
No.
I need to work on that. So there are a lot of references to, you know, the real power here is about the patriarchy, if you will. There's a nurse, one of the other nurses that's working with the infants named Comfort warns her, there's always something trying to control you in places like this. But really, this is a microcosm for the world at large, at least in that realm. Did
you like this movie?
Overall, yes. I really like, you know, what you can't see is the scariest. So until the supernatural element is kind of made clear, I was really on board. But it's hard for me to, you know, believe in spirits and talking to, like, how many films have you seen about the dead girl working, getting karmic vengeance through an open, vulnerable personality? Like, we've seen that plenty of times before.
I did like how it looked.
Yeah, it looks great. It was actually shot by Laura Bellingham, who was the DP on Amulet, which we also gave a positive review to. So clearly Ms. Bellingham knows something about creating sinister tones. Oh, like the movie Sinister, actually. That movie, I think, kind of is really terrifying, for lack of a better word, until you get to that part where you see the spirits of these dead children, and it's like, well, now that takes me completely out.
Yeah.
At least me personally. But and what it does is establish this third act, taken for grantedness, that all these things you know will fall into place. So until it gets there, I think the power was rather effective. I did like Val Williams, or Rose Williams as Val, who had previously seen, she plays the young Jennifer Ellie character in a film that I consider a masterpiece, A Quiet Passion by Terrence Davies from 2016, where Cynthia Nixon is playing Emily Dickinson. If you haven't seen that, definitely check it out. Yeah, I think I also want, it's always better to be left wanting more. But I wanted more backstory about Val, who was traumatized at the orphanage. That also plays into it. Nobody believed her. That's another plot point, is everybody seems to know that you lied about getting touched as a little girl, and come to find she was forced to lie about it, renege on her claims. I wanted more of the period, the politics and the governmental policies and ideas to kind of infect what's going on as well, because I think that's very important to this. Especially, you know, we're placing it in such a specific time and place.
What else you got?
That's about it.
What would you give this film?
3 out of 5.
Anything else?
No.
All right, bye.
Bye.